16, 2025, a hotel room in Abuja, Nigeria. The cleaning staff knocked on the door for the third time, no answer. Using their master key, they pushed open the door and stepped inside. What they found would haunt them forever. A young woman lay motionless on the bed. Her hands were tied tightly behind her back. She was later identified as LLED Johnson, but was commonly known as It's Tessie. She was only in her 20s. Within hours, news of Tessie's death spread across social media like wildfire. But this wasn't just another tragic death. The way Tessie was found raised disturbing questions that gripped an entire nation. In fact, some said her eyes were plucked when her body was found. Tessie had checked into the room with a man she met on Facebook. Security cameras captured them entering together. But by morning, only Tessie remained. The man had vanished without a trace, leaving behind no identification, no contact information, and no explanation for what happened in that room. The police arrived to find a scene that made even experienced officers pause. But what they discovered next turned this case from a simple investigation into something far more complex and terrifying. What really happened behind those closed doors? And who was the mysterious man who disappeared into the night? The answers will shock you. Welcome to Crazy Dark Files. Please like this video, share and subscribe to this channel to help raise awareness and spread caution. Abuja, Nigeria's capital, was designed as a modern, planned metropolis at the heart of the country. Despite its status as the capital and its relatively affluent appearance, Abuja faces significant security challenges that have grown more concerning in recent years. The city's crime statistics paint a troubling picture. The FCT ranks 5th among Nigerian states with the highest crime rates and specific areas. It was in this city that Tessie lost her life. Behind the name It's Tessie was a real person with real dreams and a family who loved her deeply. Her full name was LLED Johnson, a young woman from Benue State in Nigeria's Middle Belt region. She belonged to the Idoma ethnic group, a proud community known for their rich cultural heritage and strong family bonds. Tessie wasn't just another face in the crowd. On Facebook, where she went by It's Tessie, she had built a presence that reflected her personality. Friends and family members who knew her described a woman who was full of life, someone who brought energy and warmth to every room she entered. Her social media posts showed glimpses of a person who valued relationships and stayed connected to her roots in Benue State. The Idoma community where Tessie came from is tight-knit. When one of their own faces trouble, the entire community feels it. Tessie was no exception. She maintained strong ties with her family back home, and those who knew her spoke of someone who cared deeply about the people in her life. Her friends remember her as loyal and dependable, the kind of person you could count on when things got tough. At just in her 20s, Tessie had her whole life ahead of her. Like many young Nigerians, she was navigating the challenges of building a future in a country where opportunities can be hard to come by. She had dreams, ambitions, and people who believed in her potential. Her family, devastated by the news of her death, found themselves thrust into a nightmare they never expected. The woman they knew as a daughter, sister, and friend was now at the center of a criminal investigation that captured national attention. The Idoma community rallied around her family, demanding answers and justice for a life cut tragically short. Tessie's story represents more than just one person's tragedy. She was someone's daughter, someone's friend, and a member of a community that refuses to let her death be forgotten. Her life mattered, and her death sparked conversations about safety, justice, and the value of every human life. June 15th, 2025. The day that became Tessie's last started like any other, but somewhere during those 24 hours, a series of events unfolded that ended in tragedy at a hotel on 3rd Avenue in Guarimpa, Abuja. The timeline begins to get clearer as evening approached. Tessie made her way to the hotel, but she wasn't alone. Security cameras at the hotel entrance captured her arrival with a man whose identity remains unknown to this day. The footage shows them walking together, appearing calm as they approached the front desk. Hotel records confirm that they checked in together. The man handled the registration process while Tessie stood beside him. To the hotel staff, they looked like any other couple booking a room for the night. Nothing seemed out of place. Nothing raised any red flags. The receptionist processed their check-in without incident, handed over the room key, and watched them head inside. What happened next remains one of the most puzzling aspects of this case. The couple entered their room on the evening of June 15th. For several hours, the hotel was quiet. Other guests went about their business. Staff continued their regular duties. Everything appeared normal, but sometime during the night, something went terribly wrong behind the closed door of that hotel room. The exact timeline of events remains unclear, but what we do know is disturbing. While Tessie remained in the room, the man she had arrived with quietly left the hotel. Security cameras captured him exiting alone, walking out the same entrance he had used hours earlier with Tessie. The man disappeared into the Abuja night, leaving no trace of where he went or who he was. He had given no real identification to the hotel, no contact information that could be verified, no way for anyone to track him down. It was as if he had planned to vanish without a trace. Hours passed. Morning came. Hotel staff began their routine checks, but when they reached Tessie's room, they received no response to their knocks. That's when they made the discovery that shocked the nation. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you felt unsafe with someone you barely knew? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The truth about those final hours proved more disturbing than anyone could have expected. On June 16, 2025, what started as a routine service round at the hotel on 3rd Avenue in Guarimpa, Abuja, became the moment that shocked Nigeria. Hotel staff were making their regular checks when they approached Tessie's room. Something felt wrong immediately. When staff knocked on the door, there was no response. They called out, but silence filled the hallway. After several attempts to reach the guest inside, they used their master key to enter the room. What they found inside would haunt them forever. Tessie lay unconscious on the bed, her hands tied behind her back. The sight was so disturbing that staff immediately knew this was no ordinary situation. The room showed clear signs that something terrible had happened. The young woman who had checked in with a companion just hours earlier was now fighting for her life, but it was already too late. The hotel staff wasted no time. They immediately called the police. Eventually, the room was filled with first responders trying to save Tessie's life. But despite their efforts, a medical evaluation confirmed what everyone feared most. Tessie was dead. The Federal Capital Territory Police Command, led by Commissioner Ajao Adewale, took control of the scene immediately. Officers sealed off the room and began treating it as a crime scene. The disturbing detail of her hands being tied behind her back made it clear that this was not a natural death or accident. This was murder. As news of the discovery spread, rumors began flying across social media and through the community. Some people shared graphic and unverified claims about the condition of Tessie's body, including disturbing stories about her injuries. However, police officials have been careful to only confirm the facts they can verify. The official details remain focused on what was actually found: Tessie's body with her hands tied behind her back. The police commissioner launched a discreet but thorough investigation immediately. The police began interviewing hotel staff, reviewing security footage, and examining every piece of evidence from the crime scene. They were particularly interested in the unidentified man who had been seen leaving the hotel alone. The Idoma community back in Benue State was devastated when the news reached them. Youth groups and activists began demanding justice for Tessie. Social media exploded with outrage and calls for a transparent investigation. A viral video of the crime scene only fueled public anger and fear. The case that would grip the nation had officially begun. The news of Tessie's death hit her family like a thunderbolt. Back in Benue State, her loved ones struggled to understand how their vibrant daughter, sister, and friend could be gone so suddenly and so violently. The family, who had watched Tessie grow into a confident young woman, now faced the unimaginable task of planning her funeral instead of celebrating her future. Tessie's relatives described her as someone full of life, always ready with a smile and a kind word for everyone she met. Her Facebook presence as It's Tessie had connected her with friends across Nigeria, and now those same social media platforms became spaces of mourning and outrage. Friends shared memories, photos, and messages of disbelief that someone so young and full of promise could meet such a brutal end. The Idoma community rallied around Tessie's family with unprecedented unity. Community leaders called for a thorough investigation. The ethnic solidarity was powerful and immediate. They refused to let Tessie's death become just another unsolved case in Nigeria's long list of crimes against women. Social media became the battleground for justice. The viral video of the crime scene spread across WhatsApp groups, Facebook pages, and Twitter feeds faster than authorities could control. Hashtags demanding justice for Tessie began trending, and her story reached people who had never heard of Gwarinpa or the Idoma community. But with the viral spread came dangerous speculation. Fear gripped Abuja as people began whispering about the possibility of a serial killer targeting young women. Some community members expressed concerns that Tessie might not be the first victim, though police had not confirmed any pattern of similar crimes. Even more disturbing were the rumors about ritual motives. The way Tessie's hands were tied and the mysterious circumstances surrounding her death led some to speculate about ritual killings. These theories, whether true or false, added another layer of terror to an already frightened community. The combination of grief, anger, and fear created a perfect storm of public emotion. Tessie's death had become more than just a murder case. It had become a symbol of every woman's vulnerability and every family's worst nightmare. Commissioner Ajao Adewale faced immense pressure as he led the investigation into Tessie's murder. The FCT Police Command found themselves under the microscope of a nation demanding answers. But the case presented significant challenges from the very beginning. The most obvious lead was the unidentified man who had checked into the hotel with Tessie and left alone. Security footage showed him clearly, but identifying him proved difficult. He had provided minimal information during check-in, and the details he gave could not be verified. The man seemed to have vanished into thin air, leaving no digital footprint or traceable connections. Police began the painstaking process of interviewing hotel staff, other guests, and anyone who might have seen the couple together before they arrived at the hotel. They reviewed hours of security footage from surrounding businesses, hoping to track the man's movements before and after the crime. Every lead was followed, but progress was frustratingly slow. The investigation faced several major obstacles. The crime scene, while disturbing, yielded limited physical evidence that could immediately point to the perpetrator. The hotel's security systems, though present, had gaps that the killer seemed to have exploited. Most challenging of all was the public pressure and media attention that made conducting a discreet investigation nearly impossible. The police commissioner made several public statements urging patience and calm. He emphasized that the police were working around the clock, but needed time to build a solid case. However, his calls for discretion clashed with the public's demand for immediate answers and transparency. The spread of rumors and misinformation became a significant problem for investigators. Social media was flooded with unverified theories, fake witness accounts, and conspiracy theories that often contradicted the actual evidence. Police Public Relations Officer Josephine found herself constantly clarifying false information and asking the public to rely only on official statements. The case highlighted broader issues within Nigeria's law enforcement system: limited resources, inadequate forensic capabilities, and the challenge of investigating crimes in a country where many people lack proper identification documents all complicated the search for justice. As days passed without an arrest, public frustration grew and the pressure on police intensified. Tessie's tragic death forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about the world we live in. Her story is not just about one young woman's final hours, but about the broader dangers that women face every day, across Nigeria and beyond. The most obvious lesson is about personal safety. Tessie's case shows how quickly a normal situation can turn deadly. When meeting someone new or going to unfamiliar places, it's crucial to tell trusted friends or family members exactly where you're going and who you'll be with. Simple steps like sharing your location through phone apps or checking in regularly can make the difference between life and death. Hotel security emerged as a major concern in this case. The ease with which the unidentified man was able to check in and later disappear highlights serious gaps in security protocols. Hotels must implement stricter identification requirements, better surveillance systems, and staff training to recognize suspicious behavior. Guests should also feel empowered to report anything that seems wrong. The power of community response in Tessie's case shows what's possible when people unite for justice. The Idoma community's immediate mobilization and the viral social media campaign demonstrate how collective action can keep cases in the public eye and pressure authorities to act. However, this same power must be used responsibly, avoiding the spread of unverified rumors that can harm investigations. For those watching this story unfold, there are concrete ways to help. Support organizations that work to protect women and fight gender-based violence. Advocate for better security measures in your local businesses. Most importantly, never let cases like Tessie's fade from memory. The broader issue of violence against women in Nigeria requires systemic change. This means better law enforcement training, stronger legal protections, and a cultural shift that prioritizes women's safety. Every person has a role to play in creating safer communities. What changes would you like to see in your own community to prevent tragedies like this? How can we better protect vulnerable people while supporting families seeking justice? Share your thoughts in the comments below. As we reach the end of Tessie's story, the most haunting reality is how many questions remain unanswered. Who was the mysterious man who checked into that hotel with her? Where did he go after leaving Tessie to die? What were his motives, and could he strike again? The investigation continues, but with each passing day, the trail grows colder. The police commissioner and his team work tirelessly, following every lead and examining every piece of evidence. Yet the man who took Tessie's life remains free, somewhere in Nigeria or beyond, possibly planning his next move. Tessie's family still waits for justice. They wake up every morning hoping for news of an arrest, for answers that might help them understand why their daughter had to die. The Idoma community continues to demand accountability, refusing to let Tessie's memory fade into just another unsolved case. But perhaps the most important question is what we as a society will do with Tessie's story. Will we let it become another tragic headline that we scroll past, or will we use it as a catalyst for real change? Will we demand better security, support victims' families, and work to create safer communities? Tessie's life was cut short at just the beginning of what should have been a bright future. She deserved to live, to love, to achieve her dreams. While we cannot bring her back, we can honor her memory by ensuring her death was not in vain. The fight for justice continues, the search for answers goes on, and somewhere a family still grieves for a daughter who will never come home. If this story moved you, please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more true crime stories that matter. Together, we can keep Tessie's memory alive and work toward a world where no family has to endure such heartbreak.